40 pin circular knitting machine to make the body. Then you need a 22 pin machine to make the bow and the arms and the leg. And you're going to do the flat panel setting on your 22 pin machine to make his shirt. Crochet skills, which I'll teach you in this video, to do his eyes and cheek. And I have a 16mm safety eyes using my Fiskars scissors, my 3.75mm hook, darning needle. I'm using Red Heart Super Saver yarn in tea leaf color, and then just a standard black yarn. And I'm using just Red Heart red and Red Heart white yarn for panel, the eyes, and a little bit extra scrap pink that I had. You also need 2 small balls of scrap yarn to do the bow tie. With your 40 pin machine, grab your green yarn and cast on with your main color. So leave about 2 inches between the white and the black pins. Cast on by going under every other pin. You'll go around the back of one, under the next. The back of it, underneath. Back, underneath. Back, underneath. Continue that all the way around your 40 pin machine with your main color. We're not using waste yarn in this.
Yes!
You should end at the back of the last white pin and put it into your yarn feeder, like so. Reset your counter if you have one, at 0 now. Now go ahead and go around a total of 85 rows for the body of your Keroppi doll. All right, once you've made it past your first row and everything looks good, go ahead and start cranking it out as fast as you can. I'll get my drill ready and start cranking out a total of 85 rows. Once you've got 85 rows, cut about 18 inches off and you'll start casting off. Make sure that the last pin has your yarn. Let's go around a few times, rotate my machine here. Grab your darning needle, go ahead and thread it. Starting on that first pin, pick it up. I like to just hold the next one just for security, so it doesn't come undone. And you're just going to pick up each loop like I'm doing here, all the way around for 40 total loops.
Yes!
Okay, so when you come here and you just need to crank around a little more. And some people like to crank all the way around, which I do usually too. Others might wait. You can see the last loop got stuck under the pin. So you just need to crank backwards on the handle till your needle comes up and grab it and just get it off that pin. And there you have it. Take it off the machine. So you won't need the 40 pin anymore, so you can take that away. Grab that and tighten it a bit. And your other end, tighten that a little bit, and you will pull it inside to the inside here. So one end is in the other. There you go. Just like a beanie. This is how you would make a beanie if you had it on the 48 machine. Once you have that, grab the inside one, tighten it up, make sure it looks pretty flat. The outside one, tighten that up. You will tie these two together, tighten them as much as you can, and don't worry about that small gap. That will be fixed soon. I'm just going to tighten a simple knot here. I'll give it a little stretch there. There you have the frog body, basically his head and body. And what we'll do is we'll take a piece of yarn and weave in on this middle here to create the head. And we'll do his mouth, eyes, and all that. I'm going to cut off one of these strands, a little length off of it off. Thread your yarn with the needle. And you want the head to be, put the head right about there. You can make it however you like, but it's about 1/3 of the entire thing. And basically you're going to go in these two, just pick any spot, and you're going to pick up every other stitch. So every other stitches you're picking up, and basically just pull the yarn through, but leave a length there so it doesn't come undone, because you're going to meet it back from that side. Just keep going around and picking up every other two in a straight line here. counted it right, you should end up where you're gonna have to pick up 3 stitches to meet it back. All right, pass over 3 different loops there to get it back to the same hole that you started in. Just to give you an example, what it looks like. If you tighten it, that would be its head and then its body. But we don't want to tighten it because we're going to start working on the eyes and the mouth. What we'll do is we'll embroider the mouth on, we'll crochet the eyes, put those on, we'll crochet the cheeks, sew those on. We'll do all that before we cinch it tight. It just makes it a lot easier to assemble it all together. So for your eyes, you just need a very small amount of white, which is my clover hook. First thing you'll do is make a magic circle. So hold it with your thumb and finger, make an X on the top of your fingers like that. Grab your hook, put it underneath that first part of the X and over the next X and draw that X line through. Now twist the needle, the crochet hook towards you, so now you have a loop, and reach over and grab that yarn, which is the working end of your yarn, and pull it through the loop on your hook. Pull it tight. So now you have this big circle. Kind of unravel that end, pull it tight a little bit, grab your yarn, I wrap it around my pinky and up over my first finger on my left hand. So the first step is to do 6 single crochets into the magic circle. So put your hook into the circle, pull up the yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. 1, 2. Do it again, put your hook in the center, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. That's 2. And then do it a 3rd time. 2 more times, 5 and 6. Now you have this big hole here, so grab the yarn end, pull on it tight. And now close up your circle like so. Find your first stitch. Right here, and put your hook inside of it, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. That's 1. Put your hook in it again, the same stitch that you just worked, pull up a loop. There's 2. We're going to do 12 total, so that's 2. Here's 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that's 12. 2 single crochets into each stitch. Next, you're going to do a single crochet and then an increase for a total of 18. This is your last round. 1, and then 2 and 3 are going to go into the next stitch. 2 and 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 in the next stitch. 5, 6, 7, and then 2 in the next stitch. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Last 3, 16, 2 more stitches, 17 and 18. Now I like to go into the next stitch and slip stitch, so I just go into that next stitch, pull up a loop, but then continue pulling that loop all the way through the loop on the hook. Fasten off by yarning over, pull through some yarn. You want to leave a little bit of length for sewing it onto your Keroppi, and then cut it. And now you have your first eye. So do that exact same thing. If you need to rewatch it, rewind the video and go back and do a second one of these. 2 eyes are done. Grab your pink yarn. You need a very, very small amount of pink yarn. You're going to do basically the first round that you did in the eyes. So you're going to make your magic circle and do 6 single crochets into your magic circle, and then fasten off, leaving a length of yarn for sewing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull it tight to close it. Slip stitch into that first stitch. Made it a little bit tight, so it's going to be kind of hard to get in there. Okay, so I'll just slip stitch and leave a length for sewing. And then your second one, do the same exact thing. Next, you'll need a small amount of black yarn. I like to do the mouth first. You can do whatever order you like, however. From the inside of your body, place the mouth right at the base of this. And I may, at the end, before we tighten it, I might actually reposition where this is. That's just kind of a baseline for now. And then I'll probably move it down a little bit. But I like to use that just as a baseline for counting. Okay. Make sure the right side is up, so your stitches are faces upwards. This is the back, the wrong side. It's more bumpy looking. This is the front, the top. And go ahead and sew the other cheek to this side. Once you have that all together, you can position your eyes up here as well onto your little Keroppi. I redid the mouth a little bit to make it look a little more like Keroppi does. So I did the eyes, and in the center of the eyes is the base of the mouth. I redid the mouth, and then I put the cheeks over here on the sides. Next, I'm grabbing my 16mm safety eyes. I put them in the corner. It's gonna be a little hard to get through because it's thick, but I'm just gonna put them there and here temporarily to see if that's how I like it. And if it is, then that's where I'll place them, and I'll put the safety backings on them as well. So to get the backings on, I'm going to use my safety tool because it's very thick yarn and it's going to be hard to get it through. So just use the auxiliary tool that I'll link down in the description box, and it helps get it all the way in where you need it to go. So there you have that. All right, so you put your safety eyes on. Now I want you to go ahead and take the head and move it down a couple of stitches from where we started. Take a look here, and we actually want the head to be more about there. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing where you pick up every other stitch. Now grab your polyfill and stuff your head as tight as you can get it. So as you're stuffing it with your polyfill, go ahead and tighten this up before it gets too tight, and you'll continue stuffing it as you go around. So tie this, like I said, just like a drawstring, tight, and then you'll continue stuffing because you won't entirely close that gap in there. Okay, so I've tied it tight, just double knotted it. And then I continue to stuff in here until the head is pretty firm. And take a needle and draw these strings on the inside so that they're hidden out of the way. I like to even use them to tie the inside a little bit even more. Now at the top of the head, draw that all the way down through as well to get it out of the way. Once that's done, leave the bottom open. I did cut that long piece off. We're going to use that to close up the bottom later. But the next thing I need you to do is get onto your 22 pin and create the arms and the legs. You're going to make 4 the exact same. You're going to do 15 total rows for the arms and the legs. You don't need to use waste yarn, just cast on with the main color. 15 rows, cast off with the main color. You're not going to draw one end into the other. You're just going to pull them tight, and I'll show you what I mean next. Here is one of the arms and legs. Just cast on and off with the main color. So pull one end tight. Just make sure it's not curled in there. Pull the other end tight as well. And you could stuff it if you'd like to. I prefer mine not to be stuffed. I think it just looks cuter that way, but go ahead and stuff it before you close up the end. And then I just go ahead and tie the ends together to secure them like this. Pretty simple before I sew it onto the side of the frog. So then from there, I grab him and you look to the side here, and that's where you're going to put your arm and just sew it right into where the neck is. And then you'll sew the other arm on the other side where the neck is. And we'll stuff it, and then we'll put the legs on the bottom. So go ahead and sew your arms to the sides there, and I'll meet you when you're done with that. After you've attached the arms, I'm going to stuff it with my polyfill. And then grab that extra length of yarn that you have and thread your darning needle. And just start taking every other stitch up at the base so that you can use it like a drawstring to close up the bottom. So you can see here I'm just doing every other stitch all the way to the end. Make sure you stuff it really firmly. And what I'm going to do at the very bottom before I close it up is add a little bit of heavier type stuffing, like cotton type filling, which is heavier to help the toy stand up better. You could also do some other type of weight for your stuffing, maybe a sealed bag of rice or something. When you get to the end here, you'll find that you'll probably have just the one stitch right before you get to the main hole. So I just take all three and then get to that first hole that you started with, because you want to get to the same exact one. Then you can start tightening it a little bit, and as you do that, then I'm going to add my heavier weighted stuffing at the bottom here. Okay, so I went ahead and I added some extra basically yarn scraps, cuttings, and then I put a little bit of polyfill on the bottom just in case they stick through. I don't want them to poke through. Tighten a knot, and then what I'll do is I'll take this yarn end and go around to close up the hole at the bottom. We're going to sew the legs on, so you should have 2 more pieces for your legs. So just tighten those up like you did for the arms. Go around this part a little bit to tie it up, and then I'll sew it right here at the bottom so that it looks like he's sitting on his feet. Go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end there. When you're done putting your legs on, I basically tied it to the yarn ends down here. So what I'm going to do is just draw 2 at a time up through the middle to hide them, and then cut them, because you probably have like a little yarn mess like that, which is great for tying in your ends for security, but now it's time to get rid of them. So I just draw it up through here, and then I'll cut them. I do 2 at a time just because my needle and hands can't take more than 2 pieces of yarn at the same time to get through. There were 6 total. And I just chop them off, and they stay hidden within the body. Just pull on them a little bit, and they'll swing back into the body there. Keroppi doll. He's not dressed up though. He needs a bow, and he needs a shirt.
Yes!